Once upon a time, in a quaint little village nestled in the rolling hills, there lived a young shepherd boy named Thomas. Thomas was a lively and mischievous lad who loved to play pranks and tricks on the villagers. He had a heart full of curiosity, and a mind that was always concocting new ways to amuse himself. Every day, Thomas would lead his flock of sheep to the lush green pastures just outside the village. There, under the warm sun and the gentle breeze, he would watch over the sheep as they grazed. While this might sound like a peaceful and idyllic life, Thomas often found it rather dull. He longed for excitement and adventure, something more thrilling than simply watching sheep munch on grass. One sunny afternoon, as Thomas lay on the soft grass, his mind began to wander. "What if I could make the villagers come running up here?" he thought. A mischievous grin spread across his face as an idea took root. "I know! I'll pretend there's a wolf attacking the sheep. That will surely get their attention." Thomas stood up and cupped his hands around his mouth. With all his might he shouted, "Wolf! Wolf! A wolf is attacking the sheep!" The villagers, who were going about their daily tasks, heard Thomas's frantic cries. Without a second thought, they dropped their tools and rushed toward the pasture. Men and women alike grabbed whatever they could find, sticks, hose, even pots and pans, and hurried to help the boy protect his flock. As they reached the pasture, they saw Thomas standing atop a hill, waving his arms and pointing dramatically. "Hurry! The wolf is right over there!" he yelled. But when the villagers arrived at the spot Thomas indicated, they found nothing but peacefully grazing sheep. There was no wolf in sight. The villagers looked around in confusion, some scratching their heads, others beginning to murmur among themselves. Thomas burst into laughter. "Got you all! There was never a wolf! I was just joking!" The villagers, realizing they had been tricked, were not amused. They scolded Thomas for his prank, warning him that it wasn't something to joke about. But Thomas, still giggling, paid little attention to their words. He thought it had been great fun and felt a rush of excitement at having caused such a commotion. A few days later, Thomas grew bored once again. Remembering how much fun he'd had with his previous prank, he decided to repeat it. "They'll come running again for sure," he thought, a mischievous gleam in his eye. So once more he stood up and cried out, "Wolf! Wolf! A wolf is attacking the sheep!" As before, the villagers dropped everything and ran to the pasture to help Thomas. They arrived breathless and armed, ready to fend off the supposed wolf. But, just like the first time, they found nothing but sheep peacefully grazing. Thomas doubled over with laughter. "Fooled you again! There's no wolf here!" This time, the villagers were even more annoyed. They chastised Thomas more sternly, telling him that if he continued to cry wolf when there was no danger, they might not believe him if a real wolf ever appeared. Thomas nodded and apologized, but deep down he was still amused by his prank. A week later, as Thomas was lying in the pasture, something caught his eye. At the edge of the forest, he saw a shadow moving stealthily among the trees. His heart skipped a beat as he realized it was a wolf, an actual wolf, slinking toward the flock. Panic surged through Thomas. He jumped to his feet and screamed, "Wolf! Wolf! A real wolf is attacking the sheep! Help! Help!" But this time, the villagers, busy with their work, hesitated. "It's just Thomas playing his usual prank," they said to one another. "There's no wolf. He's tricked us twice already." Thomas's cries grew more desperate. "Please, this time it's real. The wolf is attacking the sheep."
The boy's desperate cries echoed through the village, but the villagers, weary of his deceit, turned their backs, continuing their work as they whispered about the boy who cried wolf. With fear gripping his heart, Thomas shouted into the void, longing for a savior. Yet silence met his cries, for the villagers had turned their backs, believing his pleas to be mere deception. The wolf descended upon the flock, leaving chaos and injury in its wake. Thomas, paralyzed by fear and guilt, could only weep as he grasped the gravity of his past mischief, which had shattered the trust of the villagers and endangered his sheep.
When the wolf finally left, Thomas sat down on the ground, exhausted and heartbroken. He looked at the scattered sheep, some limping, others too frightened to move. The weight of his actions bore down on him, and he wept bitterly. Eventually, the villagers noticed the unusual silence from the pasture. Curious, a few of them decided to check on Thomas. When they arrived, they found him sitting alone, surrounded by his injured and terrified sheep. Seeing the state of the flock, the villagers realized that Thomas had been telling the truth this time. They hurriedly tended to the sheep, trying to salvage what they could. Thomas, still in tears, looked up at them and whispered, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen." The village elder, a wise and kind old man, placed a hand on Thomas's shoulder. "This is the result of lying, Thomas. When you cry wolf too many times, people stop believing you, even when you tell the truth." Thomas nodded, his heart heavy with regret. "I understand now. I will never lie again. I've learned my lesson the hard way." In the days that followed, Thomas worked tirelessly to care for his injured sheep. He also helped the villagers with their tasks, trying to make amends for his actions. Slowly, he began to rebuild the trust he had lost. The villagers, seeing his genuine remorse and efforts to change, started to forgive him. Thomas's experience served as a valuable lesson for the entire village. They realized the importance of honesty and the dangers of deceit. They also learned to be more discerning, understanding that trust is something that must be earned and maintained. Months passed, and the village returned to its peaceful routine. Thomas, now a wiser and more responsible shepherd, continued to watch over his flock with great care. He no longer sought excitement through pranks and tricks. Instead, he found joy in the simple, honest life of a shepherd. One day, as Thomas sat on the same grassy hill where he had once cried wolf, he smiled to himself. He had learned a valuable lesson and had grown from his experiences. The villagers now respected him for his hard work and honesty. From that day forward, the story of Thomas and the wolf became a well-known tale in the village. Parents would tell it to their children, teaching them the importance of truthfulness and the consequences of lying. And so, the village thrived in peace and harmony, with the memory of the boy who cried wolf serving as a timeless reminder of the value of honesty. Thomas's story continued to be told for generations, ensuring that the lesson he learned would never be forgotten. The tale of Thomas, the boy who cried wolf, is a classic fable that teaches us the importance of honesty and the consequences of deceit. When we lie, we lose the trust of those around us, and even when we tell the truth, our words may no longer be believed. Trust is a precious thing that must be earned and maintained through honesty and integrity. Thomas's story reminds us that our actions have consequences, and it is always better to be truthful and trustworthy. By doing so, we can build strong, lasting relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. As the villagers learned from Thomas's experience, so too can we learn the value of honesty and the importance of trust in our own lives. Let this story serve as a guide for us all, encouraging us to live with integrity and to always speak the truth.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more fun videos. See you next time.